So let's go to our bonus stocking section. So I said that I wanted to talk a little bit about bonus stocking content that we could do in our little video here. And to talk about that, let's talk about real quickly here about what is it to be a .NET mobile developer in 2023. It turns out for you, this is the best time to be a .NET developer because we have multiple options and all of them are pretty good. And that's awesome to hear. So one, obviously, if you've not been on the rock, you know I've been talking about a lot, multi-platform Maui. So Maui is pretty awesome. It's a great platform for building UI. There's multiple versions of Maui. I need to make sure you understand that. It's not just XAML anymore. We obviously have the Blazor hybrid. And for some people, that's actually a pretty great solution. And I highly recommend that I know it sounds like, well, I'm just building like a React Native or a Cordova app. You got to get past that and take a look at this because for some people, that is a really great solution for building mobile apps. Not gonna lie, the Blazor stuff is pretty solid these days. It's definitely been around for quite a long time, so it's got time to mature. And I know a lot of developers out there in .NET that think that this is just probably gonna be supported better. They don't like XAML. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you do like XAML, there's some other options out there that you may want to start thinking about, especially if you're on a Xamarin Form application, you have to convert it, and it's a complicated application. You're going to talk about rewriting it. Well, this is the time that you may want to be doing a POC. So one of the things you may want to take a look at is our friends over at Avalonia. Now this, my understanding, is an open source project. It's been around since 2012. And a lot of people that used to work on Xamarin now work on this. Now, I've heard a lot of negativity on the internet about this project, and I don't like it to start out with, right? There seems to be a lot of negativity sometimes in the .NET community, and I think it's kind of terrible. We should be happy that we have so many options. Some people complain that, well, this is a small company. You don't know if they're going to go under. Well, guess what, folks? I was a Xamarin developer in 2010, and they were a small company. And people went to them by droves, okay? So you don't need Microsoft behind a company to use that technology. And I used Xamarin for years before they were bought by Microsoft. I worked on hundreds of apps at very large companies that were based on Xamarin before Microsoft bought them. So don't count this company out. And if you're a WPF developer, they have the ability to basically take your WF application and make it cross-platform. That's pretty cool. Now, how do they do that? Well, to understand this, they do not render to native controls like Maui does, at least Maui XAML. Okay, Maui XAML, they render out to native controls. In this platform, they're using Skia Sharp, kind of like Flutter used to use. And so because of that, they render the same UI regardless of what platform you're on because they have their own drawing engine. That means it's all their own custom controls. They control it. The experience of rendering, scrolling, all those things is going to come down to this platform. You're not worried about, did my Maui app convert my Android app to use Recycler View right? So now the fact that I may have some kind of memory leak or something else going on in Android land where your scrolling support sucks on a really bad Android phone like this piece of turd Samsung A series phone, which every Xamarin developer fights and hates because these things are like $80 and the performance on them is just terrible, right? I have one on my desk all the time because this is the first thing I test my Android code on because of the fact that it's always going to run great on a new Pixel. But on these older phones, these are predominant all over the place. A lot of people use these cheap phones. Getting support for that and getting speed out of that, I've, at least in my testing of Avalonia, it's pretty great. Android's performance is pretty good. Now, I will say one thing about Skia Sharp rendering. Flutter dropped it, and they are moving over to Impeller, which is a new rendering platform because they ran into so many jankiness that they call it early onset jank from using Skia Sharp. So it's pretty important to kind of point out that, you know, in full disclosure, I think this is a great platform. However, they're using Skia Sharp. And the old argument was, well, that's because Flutter uses it. And so why won't we just use the same thing they do and give you almost like a .NET Flutter experience? That's not the case anymore. Flutter has absolutely said that they're moving their rendering runtime over to a new platform. So these folks may run into the same Skia Sharp rendering problems. And so that they may have to do some stuff. And for the Flutter folks out there, they know how painful this is. And I'm sorry, my Flutter friends. Yeah, it's not, the road's going to be bumpy there for a little while. Now, I talked about them earlier, and I do want to bring them up again because Uno is pretty cool. Uno is a platform. They've been around for quite a long time, and there's a lot of people I follow on Twitter that actually work there that I did not realize this, that are cool people. They have the ability to take WinUI code, so it's XAML code, and they make it run on all the platforms you normally want to run on: iOS, web, Windows, Linux, Mac OS, the whole 9 yards. They have their own separate platform from this. They have their own way of doing things. They have a thing called MVUX, which is their own kind of version of MVM that they say is better and easier to use. It does a lot of code generation in order to make this magic happen. I'm on the fence if this is actually a productivity thing for me, and I've just found that I tried it out and I didn't like it, and I found myself going back to MVVM. I will have to say, though, I'm going to give them special kudos for this new feature, the C# for markup, where you can write your entire app with no XAML code. You write it in C# and it looks a lot like Swift or UI or Jetpack Compose. But you're using C#, the language we all know and love. It is pretty amazing to see this in action. And because of this, then of course they have VS Code right here, and they do have hot reload support with the Uno extension for VS Code. So far on the Mac for hot reload, it's the only time I've seen hot reload work. That is something to be said about productivity, right? One of the things that blow my mind, and I tested this out on my lunch stream. Go check my YouTube channel for the lunch stream. One of the lunch streams, I did a Uno thing. I took a Figma design, I designed it, I exported it out. It wrote me my C# code. I plugged it in, and the C# code was phenomenal. And my screen rendered exactly like it said it would. And if you're working with a design team and you're using Figma, that's also pretty amazing. So in this world, I honestly think that if out of all the platforms, if you are got a XAML application, it's Android, you already got your view models and stuff wired up, right? This does work with view models. So if you start thinking about that for a second, what is my plan to get a supported platform, to get off Xamarin, because Xamarin's going to be not supported here very shortly, and get onto a platform that's supported? I honestly think you should take a look at Uno. I know that you're going to probably go right to Maui, but before you do that, take a side trip over here and take a look at their C# markup, for example. It's a pretty great experience. For a Mac developer, the fact that the VS Code plugin works so well with it, it's pretty great. Now, it wouldn't be... I would be bad if I didn't tell you that my Uno experience hasn't been great overall. So while I'm talking all these great things, I do want to put a little cliff note or a little kind of asterisk there. The development tools have some known issues out there. The way you name your projects, if you use special characters, it doesn't work, and like the whole thing falls apart. I have my lunch stream. I have like 3 videos on Uno, and you can go watch me like struggle through learning all this like weird kind of gotchas. It feels like if you build the Uno project in Visual Studio on PC, it has a very nice wizard that gets your project properly set up. And then after, if you bring that onto the Mac and you open in VS Code or Rider, it feels like the experience is pretty good, but it's not great. It's nowhere near as great as it is on Visual Studio for PC or VS Code. So if you're a Rider developer specifically, Uno isn't the best experience in Rider. I'm going to tell you that right now. I used Rider a lot on it, and I found myself having to go to VS Code to get decent tooling. And that's all. I'm just going to leave that at that. So while I say Uno is a great platform for support, it also is going to be, your experience is going to be different based on which IDE you're using and how you design and develop your application. Once again, I guess my disclaimer is I'm always going to say is that all these are great things I'm telling you about. All these are valuable options. But really, this has just been my testing on my Macs and my PCs. And it's just my experience I'm sharing with you. I highly recommend, do not take my word for it. Instead, use this to launch your own POCs. Look at Uno, look at Avalonia, look at all these platforms, and then you make the decision what works for you and your development team, and what can get you to get your apps out as fast as possible in production to users to use, because really, that's the whole goal of all this, right? We're just trying to build software. We're just trying to get it out into production. We're just trying to get users to use our apps and like them. I want to thank you again for spending time with me. I want to hope that all you have a wonderful, safe, and happy holidays. A happy new year. Go check out the C# event calendar. There's so much better content than my content out there, quite honestly. Upgrade your knowledge. It's free, and that's the power of it. And if you like .NET, come over to my channel. I've got a lunch stream I do almost every day. Obviously, with the holidays up here, I haven't been streaming the last couple of days because things are busy. But I do have a .NET lunch stream that I stream live on YouTube and on Twitch. And I do some random streaming at night also with .NET and with other platforms. So go ahead and hang out over there. Either way, thank you for attending, and I'll see you guys in the next video.